Hello, everyone. Welcome, Sideline Brief Podcast, episode 222. Tons, and I mean tons, of NFL news to go over. Not only from the combine, but just a couple of trades happened this morning. A couple of cuts in terms of cap casualties happened this morning as well and throughout the day. So, I'm going to touch on that before we hit the NFC South for their season recap. And we might sprinkle in a little bit of other stuff, some NBA, some WWE Elimination Chamber happened this Saturday. We'll talk about all that coming soon. So, with all that being said, guys, stay tuned. Welcome back. Before we hop into the NFC South, we got some NFL news to cover today. Starting with the trade front, David Montgomery, who over the weekend, some leaks or some rumors coming from Shefty, some of the other insiders saying that he wants out of Detroit. He put a little response on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. A little funny comment. But hey, he actually did want a new home, and he has it. He is going to the Texans. Lions and Texans make a trade. David Montgomery heading to the Texans with what? Lions will receive a 4th rounder and a 7th rounder, and then I think the Detroit is sending also a lineman. So, oh wait, did I get that wrong? I don't know, but basically, big part of this trade is David Montgomery is having a new home in Texas with Woody Marks. I'm assuming Joe Mixon is probably going to be a cap casualty. He didn't play all year because of a foot or ankle injury. So, how do you feel about this trade? Jacob, I'll start with you.
Yeah, there goes Knuckles. The funny banner on X was kind of typical 2026 sports. But like you touched on, I think for a backup running back, granted Montgomery is a really good number 2 running back, giving up a 4th, 7th, and an O lineman to get him is kind of a steep price.
Yeah.
Detroit definitely got good value back. I see they're trying to pay Gibbs this offseason. And Jahmyr Gibbs is probably going to get top 5 running back money, which nowadays is 15 to 20 million. And you can't keep 2 running backs that are getting paid real money. So it makes sense. He had a really good run there. I know when he was with the Bears, he was just kind of like okay. And then he really kind of found his footing in Detroit. Good running back. Makes sense for the Texans. I like Woody Marks, and I think he can kind of play a similar role as he did in Detroit in Houston with said Woody Marks.
Lawrence, thoughts on this trade for both sides?
I think adding it to the trade that they also did with getting rid of another offensive lineman doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, because now you got Woody Marks and you got David Montgomery. But I know the O-line wasn't amazing last year. We're not going to act like it was, but now you're starting with even less O-line depth and talent going into the season, which means you're really hoping for a revamping of your O-line almost to a completion. It kind of sounds like the coach, what we kind of been criticizing, not having the best skills on the offensive side. Maybe his O-line producing skills are just not there, and he doesn't have the guy in the spot for it. But can make a great defense every year, but can't seem to get an offensive line right.
Yeah, I agree with you. They running back was definitely a need for them. So, I like them going out and being aggressive. A little bit of overpay, if you ask me. I feel like they could probably use those picks elsewhere. Probably an O-line depth, but hey, we'll see if this pays off for them. They also make a second trade, like you guys alluded to. Trading their starting right tackle to the Browns for a 5th rounder. So, I guess for cap saving purposes, if you weren't going to extend them, then move on from your right tackle, I guess. But the offensive line is now severely depleted of talent after trading Larry Tunsil last season. So, Jacob, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, my only thought process is, because there's a couple teams that are doing the whole like remodel of their offensive line.
Yeah.
We've touched on the Raiders a lot. Cleveland was another one of those teams that is just, I think they're losing 4 starters to free agency, so they're just going to rebuild it. So good for them getting a guy. When it comes to offensive linemen, the vast majority of fans don't really know all these dudes, by a name basis. But, the dude that the Browns picked up, he's been in the league for 7 years, kind of a solid starter. But the thing that I keep thinking about here is that Texans didn't have a good line, kind of as we said. So, like, how good could this guy be? They're giving him $21 million, which it's a tackle. So, I mean, that's kind of right around the market. I mean, that's not highest paid by any means, but it's still a considerable deal. Yeah, I don't really have much to think here because, like you said, the Texans obviously need to build it from the ground up, and the Browns need to build it from the ground up, and the Browns are going to use one of the O-lines, a not good one, to kind of bolster their staff for. So, kind of sounds like a Cleveland move, if anything else. But I can also see the Texans kind of just, drafting, a couple guys, maybe 2 in their top 4 picks, and signing a guy or 2, and just basically shuffling all the cards and say, let's, do it completely different. But going back to the Laramie Tunsil thing, that was stupid. You don't trade guys like that. You don't trade premier players. Because Laramie Tunsil was one of those rare offensive linemen that everybody in the league does know because of how good he is. I don't think anybody before today knew who Titus Howard was personally, but good for Cleveland if he ends up to be good, and good for Houston if he actually stinks and they want him gone.
Lawrence, you kind of already touched on this, but do you have anything to add?
I mean, maybe he might get a little better with, I would say, someone on the other side, like Myles Garrett, and then going against him in practice week to week. But I don't know if you can really say that when he had Will Anderson also to go against. But maybe age can help. But no, I just am more concerned with the Texans. They're constantly trying to, fix the offense to do more, to score more points, to do a little better. They're trying these small things, but I think the big picture's being missed here. Like, you got rid of Laramie Tunsil, you got rid of 2 offensive linemen. Like, okay, I get it. You're hurting one spot to fix needs in other spots, but you're pretty much going to have to rely on getting free agent offensive linemen in, which you don't even know if you're going to be the top spot that they would want to sign to, and then also and hope that youngins that are coming into the league, which I don't know the Texans, but they must have a couple early picks that they're going to use on offensive linemen, because you can't be waiting until the 3rd or 4th round expecting that rookie to start year 1. It just doesn't seem like it's gonna. Your quarterback will finish the season, kind of thing.
Yeah, we'll have to see if this pays off for the Texans. Both teams, as you guys both said, got a lot of work to do with rebuilding their O-line, so we'll see. Next up, cap casualties. We got a whole bunch across the league. Just in rapid fire here, we got the Vikings barring a last minute trade, probably gonna trade or cut Aaron Jones, Javon Hargrave. Commanders are gonna cut Marshawn Lattimore, save about $18 million against the cap. After trading a 3rd and a 5th for him, last season. So
it was a lot, yeah.
It was a lot to get a guy and just cut him a season later and not extend him. Chiefs going to release Jawan Taylor. Probably a year or 2 later than that. He did not play well at all. They're still looking for a Orlando Brown replacement after letting him walk in free agency a couple years ago. And then, of course, we got the quarterbacks. Kyler Murray, I believe, is also potentially a cap casualty, barring last-minute trade. And I think there's a good chance that Tua, Geno Smith are going to be cap casualties as well, unless they get traded. So a lot of cutting going around before the new league year starts here pretty soon. Lawrence, start with you first. Any thoughts on any of these guys that are getting released?
No, all of them seemed like they had it coming. I will say for the Chiefs, I don't know whose bright idea it was to bring in a left tackle, put him at right tackle for a full season and a half, then move him back to left tackle after you already gave him or force him to learn right tackle tendencies, and then for him not to work out on the left tackle side, by all means, you kind of wasted 2 years of the man's career, maybe 3. I don't know when he got there, but kind of wasted a bit that man's chunk of time. You paid him, though. You paid him. He'll probably go to some team, be a little underpaid, and on my honest opinion, if he goes somewhere and plays left tackle, he may or may not have a minor resurgence. But well, that one was a little bit foolish. And yeah, Geno Smith might be cut, but I swear to gosh, if someone brings him in and gives him a QB competition chance, I don't know what anyone's doing in this league. That man needs to be sitting on the bench, and then when he tells the quarterback he's mentoring what he would do, that quarterback needs to do the complete opposite.
Jacob, thoughts
I'm
on
going
any of these?
push back a little bit on Geno Smith. I mean, I think there's a lot of interest in Geno Smith because he's had a successful career outside of this year in with the Raiders. And I actually heard a report that people inside the league aren't holding that against Geno because the Raiders' offense was so inept with Chip Kelly calling the plays and Pete Carroll, who was like 89 years old, running the show. So I think Geno Smith might have some ball left in him. I'm thinking like a Arizona Cardinals. I've seen him linked to the Vikings. I don't think he's going to go to the Vikings and win 14 games or anything, but I think Geno Smith could still be a starting caliber guy. I mean, look at that Raiders offense. I mean, Bowers was hurt for most of the year. Genty couldn't run 4 yards per carry, and they were bad. So like I still not out on West Virginia alum Geno Smith. I think the big one there with Juwan Taylor, you were talking about it, Lawrence, and I was like, this dude screams Houston Texan future signee. I can absolutely see it. The Texans basically kind of picking down what the Chiefs are kind of like cutting loose. Obviously, we just mentioned how they need to figure out their offensive line. They traded away a tackle. I see them going ahead and getting Juwan Taylor on a less expensive deal. I like Hargrave, or not Hargrave. Yeah, from the Vikings. D tackle, send him to the Bills. I'm in on that. Aaron Jones had a rough year. I think he was hurt a lot of this year. So I think Aaron Jones is probably best suited to be a RB2 somewhere. But yeah, definitely some interesting releases. Lattimore, they gave up a decent amount of draft capital to get him. He struggled there. He got absolutely cooked by A.J. Brown in the playoffs last year. So not a great trade or tenure in Washington for Marshawn Lattimore, but still interesting to see where all these guys end up because a lot of these guys can still play.
Yeah, I expect these guys to find some new homes come new league year, but yeah, they probably just didn't play up to load their contracts, so he unfortunately gonna have to get cut, and it's a business, so I'm sure they find some new work somewhere in the league. Next up, NFC South. Lawrence, your Carolina Panthers are in this division alongside a couple of other 8 and 9 teams, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Atlanta Falcons, and the Saints, who have up and coming quarterback here in Tyler Shook. We'll start from the top this time. Lawrence, your Carolina Panthers finished 8 and 9, NFC South champions. First round matchup versus the Rams came down to the wire. Very, very good game there. Not a lot of people had much faith or hope in the Panthers. I know preseason I did. I said they had a chance to win the division. So you gotta give me props there. All right. But Lawrence, how would you grade your Panthers season, and what are some things you're looking forward to them doing this offseason?
I'll probably give them a B for sneaking into the playoffs and giving it a good go. I don't know, just putting yourself back in the playoffs. I think it had been about 10 years since postseason. No, it had been 8 years since a postseason game. But anywho, I don't know. I like the resiliency. I'm thinking like previous seasons, Bryce Young, if he was in a game close and it was late in the end, they kind of always found a way to lose it. This year, he won a couple more games. I think I saw the stat where he was 11-3 in one-score games this season. I mean, good job, Bryce. I think he's really turned the page, or they're 11-3 since he's starting or something like that. But he's really turned a page, in my opinion. And for instance, when C.J. Stroud came in the league and then had his awesome rookie season, and he didn't do so hot, and then second year got benched, comes back, comes off that benching, does great, finishes the season. Then again this season doesn't start too hot. About midway through, figures out something, goes back and forth, wins, losses week to week. But regardless, they're constantly within a game as they're fighting. I mean, I guess it goes back to resiliency. Now the next season coming, I think it's going to be a lot better. I think offensively, Robert Hunt not being there for majority of the season, pretty much 16 games. I think he played the first game, tore his pec, tore everything up in that one arm. Came back, played the last game and the playoff game. So maybe having him for more than one game the whole season might help for that O-line. As long as the rest of the guys stay healthy. I think I think the big thing they need to focus on is the defense. And I know we were just kind of shitting on Lattimore, but it is kind of like a Panther thing to do to go get an aging vet like Lattimore and put him at CB3 or 4 behind Mike Jack and J.C. Horn, or maybe ask Lattimore if he wants to go finish career as a safety. Because God, Jesus Christ, their safety core is bad. Carolina's, in my opinion. I think they got two good rookies with Lathan Ransom and Lathan Ransom. I don't know the guy's name, but Lathan Ransom's pretty decent. But the one I can't get around is Nick Scott. He's got to go. They definitely need an edge threat. I think they kind of do need an interior line or a defensive line threat. They did tell Alshon Robinson they're going to let him walk. So you're going to have to figure out how you're going to fix that vet leaving. I don't know. I think that there are a lot of things to do. Defensively, they're going to get around. I think they're going to have to make a big signing. I think the biggest thing they need to be doing is calling Max Crosby and figuring out what it's going to take to get him there. Anything, by all means, do whatever you got to do. Because I think coming into this next season, playing a first place schedule, there has to be a pass rush coming into this season because I think we're like 31st or 30th last year in the league. Like, you're not making a first place schedule playoff run with one of the worst pass rushes. You're just not.
Jacob, your thoughts on the Panthers season and what do you expect from them this offseason?
It's tricky, and Lawrence just did a lot of, kind of in roster details. So I'll kind of stick to the outside here. This division as a whole stunk this year. I was looking at the standings, and if either team or if any team in the NFC South played in the NFC North, they'd be in fifth place because every team in the NFC North had 9 wins or more. No team in the NFC South had 9 wins. The team that made the playoffs had a losing record. Also, one of the stats I love to keep track of is points differential. Kind of tells you, like, if you're a winning team, you win by a lot of margins. If you're a losing team, do you lose by a lot of losing margin. The Panthers are negative 69, nice, for this past season, which would be the 4th worst in the NFC. But because of the system, they got to host the playoff game. This is a team that lost to the Saints twice this year, but beat the Rams and the Packers in regulation. This team is weird. They're weird, and I agree that Bryce Young has definitely taken a step. I think that differential, one of the things it tells me is that if they were in a game, if it was a close game, they found a way to win, which is extremely important from a young team and a young quarterback. But some of their losses, when they were getting spanked, they were getting spanked. So I agree. I mean, they're looking at a first-place schedule. I think they have some money, so I definitely agree they need to shore up the defense because offensively there's pieces there. I like Tet McMillan a lot. I've always liked Bryce Young. I think if he keeps steady improvement, he'll be better next year. I just wouldn't be comfortable picking them to win the division again, especially with the first place schedule. And I mean, this was by no means a good team that made the playoffs. They just were the best team out of a group of terrible teams. But again, good story. Happy for them. I hope that they improve. Definitely would start by shoring up the defense and continue impression or progression of that offense because I like Canales. Canales has definitely proved that he can coach, but I just think it's going to be tough to turn it around next year and to win this division again. But the division's really bad, so maybe they will. I don't know.
Yeah, this divisions are wide open. I feel like for another year. I feel like this is almost every year they're pretty wide open as a new contender at the helm. So definitely have to make some changes here and there. But I think the Panthers are well positioned to definitely make some noise again next season. So we'll see what they can cook up this offseason. Yeah, starting definitely with that defensive line. Agree with you, Lawrence. Get some edge rush in there. Might be a Trey Hendrickson in your future. Next up, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker and co. Got off to a hot start, but quickly fizzled out here when injuries and whatnot started to pile up. Mike Evans might or might not be back. His wish list for next team includes a winning team and a quarterback that he believes in. So I don't know. I don't know if you want to read too deep into that, but it seems like
He's talking about the Bills.
He might not be
talking about the Bills for sure.
He might not be back in Tampa Bay. Jacob, I'll start with you on this one. How would you grade the Tampa Bay Buccaneers season, and where do they go from here?
I think you said it really well. I mean, Baker Mayfield was the MVP after week 5 or week 6. I mean, first chunk of the season, he was on absolute fire. Then he got banged up. Evans got banged up. Defense got banged up. This is an older team. It's an older defense. And I'm actually surprised that Todd Bowles didn't get the can. I like Todd Bowles. Obviously, he has a Super Bowl under his belt, but I think this team's kind of in for a regression too. I mean, they have enough talent offensively. I really liked their first-round pick out of Ohio State, Mecca Ibuka. He was also amazing the first half of the season, and then he just fell off a cliff in the second half. So I think they got to shore up their defense specifically. I mean, they allowed a ton of points last year, and they got to either figure out a way to stay healthy, or if they're going to lose Mike Evans, then I would either try to replace his value elsewhere, maybe get a tight end. I know Kate Otten is going to be a free agent this year, so maybe upgrade there, thinking like a Dallas Goedert type guy, or maybe you just put all your resources into the defense and hope that Baker Mayfield and the boys can keep you in the game, because Bucky Irvin emerged as a guy. Like I said, Ibuka obviously emerged as a guy. Godwin's still there. So even if they do lose Mike Evans to the Bills, I think Tampa Bay has enough offensively, but defensively, that's definitely a problem. And they really just fell off a ladder at the end of the season. Even after winning against Carolina in the last week of the season, they kind of got screwed by the tiebreaker, but still not a great season for the Bucs. I'll give them like a C+.
Lawrence, fellow NFC South team here, what grade do you give the Bucs, and what do you expect from them this offseason?
Probably give them a C, because with the favorite coming in, I don't see them getting any better, to be honest. I think the one big problem with most Todd Bowl teams is they want to play a little bit undisciplined. So then when you're, I would say, on a more equal playing field to your opponent, it puts you at a disadvantage that you don't even want to be at. So every minor mistake you make while at that disadvantage, it's just constantly hindering you. And, well, to be honest, I think playing a second place division schedule is going to be hard. Like you said, I don't think Mike Evans comes back. I think the writing on this is pretty much there. I think this coming season, it's the Panthers or the Saints season to take. I think the Buccaneers have kind of been due for I would say a step back. I mean, you won the division 3 out of 4 years, right after having Brady leave and only keeping aging vets. Like they didn't do a whole lot in terms of additions to get better. It was just kind of riding that wave of what got us there before. Well, small parts leave. So I think the Buccaneers are due for kind of going, I wouldn't say tanking, but I wouldn't be shocked if they get no more than 6 or 7 wins.
Yeah, I think the Bucs, they got to make a lot of changes if they want to get back into the playoff picture, because, the roster's getting old. You got some young cats on the team like Ibuka and Bucky Irving, but that's not enough. The O-line's aging. Defense is aging. Vita Vea is getting up there in age. Devontae David's up there in age. Reddick. Got some young cats mixed in, but yeah, they definitely got to turn over the roster and hope that it pays off, or they're not gonna be able to make it out of this pretty tough division, honestly, in terms of teams. I feel like every team can compete for a playoff spot, so we'll see. Next up, I believe we have the Falcons, who gonna let go of Kirk Cousins here. When a new league year starts, saving some money against the cap. Pretty much means they're gonna ride with Penix going forward, but he's coming off a ACL tear in the same knee for like the second or third time. So maybe they have a backup plan there. I definitely would, but that's up for new Falcons president, Matt Ryan, to decide. So they got new coaching there as well. We'll see what this team looks like with a whole new management from top to bottom. Jacob, start with you first on this one. Falcons, how would you grade their season, and what moves do they need to make this offseason to get back into the mix?
Oh man, what a team! I think my dad and I often joke about the Falcons because they're the team, it seems like every year, that can beat any single team in the league, like on Monday night when they beat the shit out of the Bills. And they're also the same exact team that can lose to any team in the league. They're always so weird. Never bet on the Falcons. Never do. If you ever play Survivor, never pick the Falcons. Mm-hmm. They're just the most bipolar team. They're the second you think you have them figured out is when they just forget how to play that way and they resort back to playing like children. But it's crazy because they have like a lot of bright spots. I mean, Bijan is arguably the best running back in the league. I mean, that dude's an athletic freak. I really like Drake London. He's kind of proved that he's a legit number one. He's an absolute beast. They had a good offensive line last year, and they had a better defensive line. Obviously, they need to keep finding pass rushers because one of the bright pass rushers they got may never play for them again. They have problems on the defense. Their secondary was improved. I think they got Jesse Bates from Cincinnati, and he's helped their defense out a lot. They're just a weird team. Like, I would be very frustrated to be Matt Ryan because if you look on paper, this has been probably the best team in that division for the last couple of years, but they just can't figure it out. I don't know if that's a Penix thing. I don't know if that was Kirk Cousins before he got banged up, because he did have a couple good games in a Falcons uniform before he tore his Achilles. But it's just a weird, not his Achilles, when he hurt his shoulder last year.
Shoulder, yeah.
They're just a weird team, and I would say probably a C-, but at the same time, I think they won, their last couple games. Yeah, they won 4 in a row to end the season, which is hilarious because they're 8-9. So you're telling me they were 4-9? Like, a team with this much talent was 4-9? I don't know, man. I would say beef up the O-line and D-line just because that's the easy answer. But they got to figure out the quarterback. I've heard Malik Willis rumors. I've heard Tua. I heard Tua today going to Atlanta.
Okay,
and I don't really know how I feel about that, just the lefty quarterback factory there. But I don't know. They got to figure something out because I feel like obviously there's the Jets and the Browns and the Raiders, but like in terms of being a fan of a team, like this would really suck to be a Falcons fan since Matt Ryan was your quarterback and you were always good. Like they've just always been kind of just middle tier or bad or just some combination of both. And it's a team that you really just don't know what's the real reason why they're losing. I don't think their offense was good, but it wasn't really bad. And their defense wasn't bad, but it really wasn't good. So I don't know. It's they got a new coach. Stefanski's taken over to the helm. So I've actually heard rumors too that Joe Flacco is going to follow Stefanski, and Joe Flacco will be down there in Atlanta. But again, I don't know if you can trust Flacco to start a season with his age 54 season coming up. Yeah, I don't know. The Falcons are a weird team. I kind of agree with Lawrence when to me it feels like the Panthers and the Saints are probably your two leading candidates for the division next year. But again, the Falcons are just one of those weird teams that I've never personally been able to kind of put my finger on.
Lawrence, how would you grade the Falcons season, and what can they do to kind of get in the mix here with what you think is going to be the Panthers and Saints?
Give it an F because I hate the Falcons. As a Panthers fan, all it is hatred towards the Falcons. NFC South special.
Fair enough. Nobody
likes Falcons. Anywho, long time coming. the old QB's got a long road of misery ahead because that nice, awesome little rusher they had, he going to jail. He ain't ever gonna come out of jail for a while. He ain't gonna play no more NFL snaps. They just going back to the bottom. And honestly, it's I like licking the tears off the fans. I hate a good Falcon fan. Anywho, yeah, the Falcons are gonna go back to being poopy. That's a guarantee. About 2 years, I'd give it for Matt Ryan has something to answer to his name. I feel like 2 years is fair. If he takes a little bit longer than that, where they haven't shown any progress, then you can start getting on him. But I think he's got 2 years of fixing this thing up. I mean, you paid Kirk Cousins all that money, then you went out and got Penix, who was injury prone. Then you figured out that Kirk Cousins wasn't the answer, and then your injury prone quarterback got injured. Oh, who would have ever saw that coming? Oh man, it's nice to be on the outside. Bryce Young, every time he plays the Falcons, they end up calling him Daddy. What else? Well, that's about it. The Falcons have a lot of things they got to fix, and it's not going to get done in one season. But like Jacob also said, they are also the team that will go out and get you one random win on a. I think didn't on a Monday night they beat or Sunday night they beat the Rams too. So like on any random night they can pull out one out of their butt. Like they can just pull one out.
Yeah, we'll see if Matt Ryan can turn this thing around. Stefanski's there. Seemingly they're gonna tag Kyle Pitts. Maybe they get a long-term deal done, but he did have a bounce-back season in his attempt to get paid, nonetheless. But we'll see if Pitts can, have consecutive seasons like this. Like Jacob said, yeah, they're not terrible offensively, they're not terrible defensively, but they need to make something work because they can't keep being middle of the pack.
Are you going to Cincinnati? Kyle Pitts to Cincinnati?
Hey, I would love him. Hey, we would love him. Hey, bring him on. He can be that third guy we need.
Scary.
Last but not least, we got the Saints, who are definitely the up-and-comers in this division. Found their starting quarterback of the future. Hopefully, we'll see if he can reproduce the same results next season. But, up-and-coming roster. I think they're kind of through the era of all the, all the dead cap that they were kind of keeping along through the Sean Payton era. I think they're kind of past that now. So got a bunch of young guys, some cap casualties possibly, and Kamara, some of these other guys. I think Juwan Johnson might be, Cam Johnson might be. So they got some decisions to make, but they definitely got the quarterback, Spencer Rattler. He might be finding himself somewhere else this offseason. So some things to check up on. But Lawrence, for the most part, what would you grade the Saints season, and what can they do to improve this roster and be able to compete with the Tampa Bays and the Carolina Panthers in this division?
Find money. Aren't they like at the bottom of the cap? Like, and they don't even have any awesome talent that stands out. But they still have no money.
Yeah.
They have to figure out how to find some money. I think Saints are overall is perfect to write them as a C. Maybe a D, but we'll probably give them a C because first half of the season they definitely were bad. They were bad. Then they beat the Panthers twice, gave the whole NFC South a scare. But in reality, all they did was beat the Panthers twice. Anywho, I think Tyler Slaw. I think he has whatever. I think he's got a good chance of being a very decent manager kind of guy. Definitely scrambles a lot. Wouldn't have seen that one coming. Definitely he's gonna get rocked in the league. He likes to do the I'm gonna go down to slide, but then not slide, and then slide about 2 or 3 yards later, which I personally don't like. I feel like if you're the quarterback, any motion or idea that you're about to make a sliding move, should be kind of like an honor thing, because the moment you I would say continuously do it, you're just asking someone to whack the hell out of you and get murdered. And no one's going to bat an eye when it happens because you've asked for it on repeated times. I think it was like twice in the Panthers game. He literally went for a slide and then did a spin move out of that slide just to slide 2 yards, 3 yards later to get a first down. Boy, you shouldn't even act like you're going to slide. You should just taken the hit like a man, and you would have earned some respect. But instead, our guy was trying not to get a penalty, and then you slide. And then in another game, he slides, but as soon as you touch him, he'll act like he got completely whacked really hard, and then he barely gets touched, gets the flag called on him. I think that part of his game, he's gonna have to figure something out, because you play some really good players like a Myles Garrett, they'll make sure you understand not to do the fake sliding stuff. They're gonna murder you.
Jacob.
Ball, baby. That's ball. That's ball. He sounds like a baby Josh Allen. Josh Allen's the king of that. Josh Allen made that a thing. And you're saying the most important thing that you said, Lawrence, is that he got the first down. Because that's all that matters in ball, is getting the first down. You can boo-hoo, wah, should have done this, should have done that. First downs that's the program.
Yeah, but Josh Allen initiates hits. He doesn't want to initiate the hit.
True. He'll learn. He'll get there. I like him. He was like the 25, 26-year-old rookie this year. Yeah. So there's a lot of, interest in guys that stay in college for a long, long time. And then, obviously they're not the 21, 22-year-old prospects. They have a lot more snaps under their belt. So I was intrigued in him before the season. Obviously, you guys said it pretty well. The Saints stunk. And then towards the end of the year, they kind of found a little bit of momentum there with Shuck. So I think Kamara is probably going to be a cap casualty. I think it's probably time for him to move on. Unfortunately for the league, I do think that he'll end up a Kansas City Chief, which I don't necessarily like. On the top of, the thought of that I don't really, enjoy. But I think the Saints are in a really good spot, just in terms of how this first season went with Kellen Moore. To answer the original question is what can they do? And Lauren said money, which he's absolutely right, which they have none of. They have to hit on their draft picks. They have to hit on their first rounder. They got to hit on a couple mid rounders, and they got to hit on at least one of their late round picks, because they're still strapped up against the cap. The best way to do that is to get impact players that are getting very, very little money. So whether they do it or they don't, it's not going to, affect my sleep. But I think for the Saints and their, pretty positive first year with Kellen Moore, because everyone assumed they would be one of the worst teams in the league. Granted, they were for a part of it, and then they won, 4 out of the last 5, I think, to end the season. Got to hit on those draft picks. I think they take their pick 9 or 8. So, chance to get a defensive end, chance to get Jeremiah Love if he falls to him, chance to get, Caleb Downs if he's there. So whatever they do, they just have to get. This is one of those pure best player available teams where like a team like the Bills might have to say, you know what, we have to get a position of need because our roster is pretty set. The Saints just need to take the best player and to just stack good players, because similarly to the Cardinals that we talked about a couple months ago, they just don't have a lot of guys. Like the Saints don't have a lot of household names that you're like, oh yeah, I know that kid. I remember him at wherever. It's just they have just a roster full of who cares? I don't care. But hopefully, or not necessarily hopefully, but if they were to be good in the next couple of years, they need to have a really, really strong draft and maybe maximize whatever salary cap they do have, which, we know is not a lot. But I think I'd give the Saints probably a better grade than the Falcons and the Buccaneers, because they both had higher expectations and the Saints had low expectations and exceeded them. So Saints are in a good spot. If they hit on their offseason really well, I could see them winning 8 games and potentially the NFC South the next year, because we know that's all that it takes. But I'd probably still lean towards either the Bucs or the Panthers.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the Saints do this offseason. Still in the cap hellhole. We'll see if they can get themselves out of it, but definitely lean towards them hitting on the draft picks. We'll see what they do there. That's all we have for NFC South. Anything else we want to throw in here last minute? I want to give a quick shout out to Michael Jordan. Lawrence, this is in your realm, the NASCAR realm. Michael Jordan three-peating his what's the name of his driver, Lawrence? Tyler
Reddick.
three-peat to begin the NASCAR season.
Tough.
First time in what? Long ass time.
I think it's in 1961. I mean, honestly, to be fair, he didn't have to do a whole lot in Daytona. He led the last lap and the last lap only. And did kind of wreck a guy to get there. To be fair. Second race, another one of those didn't lead a whole lot. Kind of had best pitch strategy. Worked out in his favor. Now you can say those things about his first two races. Third race, pretty much dominated since I think it was like stage 2. They do like stage 1 and stage 2, and then the final stage is the second half of the race. He pretty much dominated all of the second half of the race. And one thing they said going into the second half was that the Toyota car in which they drive had no long distance speed. Well, he held off the Shane Van Gisberg, who had won 6 straight road course races in NASCAR. So, honestly, yeah, Tyler Reddick has been on fire to start the season. It's funny that Michael Jordan, the first year back after winning that huge lawsuit against NASCAR, is putting all these wins and stuff together. Pretty much the first man to challenge NASCAR and how it was being regulated. And then pretty much when he was winning, had all the good teams like Hendrick and Roush jump on his bandwagon, but they didn't do it until it was kind of set in stone to be winning that trial.
Yeah, shout out to MJ. Not my GOAT, but he might be the GOAT of NASCAR. Jacob, anything last minute?
No, it's my GOAT.
I will say a little bit of NBA news. Trae Young will play starting Thursday, home opener versus the Jazz. Jacob, and we talked about this before the show started. You're not a big fan of this. The Wizards still have some losing to do if they want to remain in that top 8.
Yeah, I mean it's tricky. This is truly like your I don't know, insert metaphor here, where like I'm excited, like I'm happy that he's playing, like it's cool, that's positive, but also no, like I don't, because think about it, there's 2 bad things that can happen. If he plays well and they win, that's not good. We don't want to win. Got to keep that draft pick. Got to win the lottery. Got to get in the top 3. If we play with Trae Young and we lose, in theory, you're like, oh, that's good that we wanted to lose. Now people are going to be like, yeah, Trae Young sucks. He sucks. We gave up so much for him. He stinks. Next year we're going to be bad. We stink. So it's like, if he just doesn't play, then you push all the, talking points to the start of next season with another impact, hopeful top 5 player. But I don't know. I mean, it's a rock and a hard place, I guess. I mean, I'm happy for him. I hope he does well. I hope he does so well that he gets the opportunity for the game-winning shot and he misses it off the rim. In and out.
Apparently, the Wiz are expected to re-sign or extend him. I think potentially might be a 3-year deal on the table. So we'll see if that actually does happen and what the numbers are going to be on that contract. Me personally, I wouldn't pay him more than $40 million a year, but I know the Wizards.
Yeah, $120. Yep, 120 over 3, sure.
They have some money to work with between him and AD, and they got a lot of young guys to pay. So we'll see what happens there. Giannis is back tonight versus the Celtics. And apparently, the rumor on the street is Tatum is going to return this Friday versus the Mavericks. We'll see if that actually happens, but he has been doing some 5-on-5. I think he might have even been assigned to the G League, or he's practicing with the G League team that the Celtics, affiliated with. So we will see. The Celtics are still number 2 in the East. Personally, I would not want to see him come back. They don't need him. He might mess with, the mojo they got going on right now. But hey, if he feels confident in coming back, then more power to him. What else? I know Curry's out for another couple games. Zach Edey's done with I think he's out for the season with another foot or ankle surgery. So tough for Edie. Big men, tend to have feet and ankle problems. Hopefully that's not, what he has to deal with for the rest of his career. But the Grizz can afford to have some people sit out. They're fighting just like the Wiz for a top pick. So I'm sure
you
they're
see
not.
Khan overtook Cooper Flagg for the odds-on favorite for Rookie of the Year.
Did not see that, but I would not take that bet and win that one bit unless.
Get your money on Flagg now. He's plus money.
Yeah, I would take Flagg 100%. And a quick note about WWE Elimination Chamber was this past Saturday. Me and Lawrence were talking about it before the show started, but shout out to the men's Randy Orton. He won the men's Elimination Chamber. A lot of people giving Logan Paul a bunch of flack for the 3 elims. Hey, I loved it. It was good TV. And then on the women's side, Rhea Ripley winning the women's Elimination Chamber. Shout out to Raquel for being the MVP of that match. She was like eliminating everybody. She's a monster. Overall, good PLE. Lawrence, I know you might have seen the highlights. I don't know if you watched the whole thing, but any points you want to touch on?
I don't know. Watching the Elimination Chamber itself, I feel like they didn't give I didn't feel like they gave a lot of the guys a lot of chance to show off a lot of their stuff. And then they allowed Logan Paul to get 2 submissions or three submissions, but 2 of the guys he submitted, they didn't fight in the Elimination Chamber very long at all. Yeah, that's the only thing I really gathered from it. I thought the whole Elimination Chamber match itself was going to be a little bit longer, maybe, in terms of all the guys in the ring.
Yeah, match was a little bit short. It was a long build up for the walkouts, which probably took away from that. They probably gotta fix that going into next year. But I think overall trending in the right direction because the past 2 PLEs were honestly quite bad. I know we didn't cover them probably for the most part because they were bad, so no need to cover them. But yeah, this was a solid 8 out of 10 for me. Hopefully they get things right for WrestleMania, but we will see on that. I think we're out of time, folks. So we're going to head on out. This episode 222, Sideline Brief Podcast. And we will see you later this week. Peace.